Well, welcome to the Christy Jones Show, where it's all about living your life to the fullest. I'm a life coach, speaker, and business owner in multifamily real estate, and I've had wild success in multifamily housing for over 25 years now. I am so passionate about helping others merge their success and lead a fulfilling life, and I bring it all together right here on this podcast. So join me and let's get started to live your life to the fullest. Well, hey guys, welcome back to another week here on the podcast. So excited you're here. And I'm really excited to have a special guest on this week that I know you're going to get so much from the story that he shares, his overcoming story of victory and how he turned stones into steps into his path to living a victorious life. Clarence Crayton III, better known as Trey. And we're going to dive into our conversation today. He has a new book that's come out, and I really want you to hear about it. But prior to becoming an author, he's a former professional athlete. And after his professional football career, he began working in sales and brand marketing. He's worked for multi-million and billion-dollar franchises, such as 24-Hour Fitness, which is where I met him, and also the NFL Los Angeles Chargers, just to name a few, before founding his own company, Turn Up Wealthy, a brand marketing consulting business with his very popular tagline on social media, Triumph with Trey. So as an accomplished author, and his new book that's out, Battled and Bruised, which is a memoir of his journey and how he endured, how he fought through the struggles, his struggles with his identity, his fear of success, and other mental health catastrophes that really can limit us in life. And through his story in this book, he paints a picture so well of the human emotional struggle and the damage from the physical and mental torture that we can go through. So I know his journey is going to inspire you to live your life to the fullest, to really endure those battles and the bruises that you go through in your own life. So without further ado, let's dive into this conversation and welcome Trey to the podcast. Well, I am so excited to have this episode today here on the podcast. I don't even really know where to start. After you heard that introduction, I know you two are excited to meet Trey. Trey, thank you so much for agreeing to come on the podcast today. I really
Oh,
appreciate it.
thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited
Oh, I'm so
for this.
excited. Well, Battled and Bruised. I'm just going to jump right into it.
Okay.
We've got a new book and I've read it, and I mean, I had a hard time setting it down once I got into it. Just to back up a little bit for our listeners, I want to just emphasize that before you wrote this book, just kind of I want to share with them a little bit about you're a PK, right? You're a preacher's kid.
Yes.
Not everybody knows
Yes.
what PK means. And
Correct.
you're a PK, you're a former pro athlete, you're a father, you've been in business. I mean, you've done a lot of things in your life. And then you had this really unexpected health challenge come up not too long ago. And
Yes.
during the time of, what was that, 2020?
Yes.
Your book, Battled and Bruised, I thought the things that you shared in there were extraordinary. And I loved hearing your story all the way back from the beginning. It really, the message of overcoming and the all the other things, faith, the whole thing is really something that's going to help other people know that they're not alone in their adversities and trials and all the things. So I'm just so excited to have you on here. I want to talk about the book and, kind of bounce around on some different parts of the book and your
Let's
story.
do it.
Um,
Yeah.
but real quick, context on how I
Okay.
met you. I really want my audience to know this because um, I was just so excited when you wrote the book. We met in, I don't remember what year it was, but you were in your professional life at 24-Hour Fitness in your
Mm-hmm.
upper management. And my husband and I, we had met you because we had joined the gym in Carlsbad. And it was
Yep.
so cool when I was reading your book and I'm like, okay, I know his life
I
like
remember that part.
point forward, right? And when we met you back then, we really it was like clear you were a person of high caliber, high standard, like high achiever. And so having that connection with you, and then now knowing all of your previous backstory,
Yes.
it's really kind of just a whole context. It's just been so amazing to get all of that in your book. So I'm excited to have this conversation.
I am too. I am too.
So excited. So just let's just start with really quickly, how would you describe your book, and what's like the short version you would give of the journey and because there's so much in this. What's your short version of that, and how do you describe the book when you're talking to others?
It is a book that goes through perseverance, um, championing life's challenges,
Mhm,
but it's also something that I want the readers to understand this is all of us going through this together.
mhm,
My story is my story, but we all have stories.
mhm,
And like I said in the beginning, I wanted, or when I did decide to write this book, is I wanted to have some definitely with what the book is about through my life and things mentally everyone that knew me
mhm.
and because of my personal career or like you said that was going on in like corporate life and the hard work and all those different things, but you would think, oh, this guy has it all, if you want to say, or
Right,
has a lot.
right.
And no, but that's not the case. We don't know what we're going through.
Mhm.
And I wanted it to shortly bring awareness that everybody has challenges and we all need a village or we all need someone to let each other know that, hey, you know what, you're not going through anything alone. Don't. It is a book of hope, inspiration, and triumph
Mhm.
over the challenges to become, which I said on the back, it says, turn your stones that things happen to you to steps. Because we're
Uh,
all going to have these different things.
right.
So but then I also wanted it to also be a testament to where God has brought me from the beginning of Him creating me
Mhm.
and to right now. And that was probably the biggest thing that I wanted to make sure that my viewers know that, hey, I understand some people have faith, they don't. That's
Mhm.
okay.
Mhm.
But we all do go through challenges no matter what.
Right,
This is my inspiration. He's my inspiration.
right.
Of course, I want people to uh, come with me to the party with
Sure,
Christ.
yeah, yeah.
But at the same time, is that ultimately there's a lot of things that are going on in our world
Mhm.
that those don't have hope when they grab it from faith or they grab it from another person. I wanted them to get through here to just let them know, hey, you know what, you're never alone. If there's any one person that is with you, I am.
Yeah, oh, that's so good. Well, I definitely think you communicated that so good. And,
I hope I did.
oh, you did so great. You did so great. In fact, I love how, you talked about, I think you were 2 years old. First of all, you're in Oceanside, and I'm in Carlsbad, California right now. But I went to school and grew up in Fallbrook, which is not too far from Oceanside. So it was when you were talking about, 2 years old being on the track, that first story about,
Hmm.
you know, one of your gifts that God gave you is, your parents kind of knew, and it sounds like it runs in the family, that, this was that sports and ultimately football was going to be one of your gifts, and one of your things that, yes, you also worked very hard at. I know that for sure because of your work ethic. Um, and going to Oceanside and understanding like how big that program was, because I was, right on the other side of the hill from where you
Yep,
were.
yep, yep.
And
El Camino, just saying that. No, I was like,
yeah,
El Camino, but it's in Oceanside. Just
it's an
I
Oceanside.
was
But
gonna let that go, but I'm like, no, 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 I'm El
no,
Camino.
no, no,
Let
no.
me
Yeah,
see.
we
Let
weren't
me
in the
see.
same realm at all. But it was really, I just loved all the backstory. And I really also feel like your early years, and when you talked about like, the amazing athlete that you were coming out of high school and all of the recruiting attention that you were getting and all of that, that I really think that it's your story is so going to resonate with, you know, young men and women
Yes,
that
yes,
find themselves in that stage of life as well. and
Yes.
they're going to connect with the things that you said, and they're going to be like they're going to understand some of the challenges that you were talking about at that phase of your life.
Yes.
So I really think it was just so great that you shared a lot of that from the beginning, just your whole experience, because it all built into the man you are today. And
Yeah. And you know, my mom told me that story so many times when
yeah,
she said that she knew I was going to be something special in that way. And it's crazy because, you know, that was a fixture when I would work out or run, or because of that belief that I just believe that God gave me a talent. That's what she was really telling me. She was like,
yeah,
and really wasn't just the physical. I really wanted it to focus on because it was the heart that he gave me.
right.
Like he gave me a strong heart at from the beginning of time. And so we think like, oh, it's developed into that, but no, that was a gift that of
Right,
mentally fighting through things, battled and bruised.
right.
So going through things at a young age, they seen this guy is going to push past the limits.
Mhm.
And that's why I started with that. And I'll say this real quick when
Yeah.
there's a story about my sister too, like right after that,
Yes,
because
yes. Mhm.
my sister is what I put in there, which I could say she's a protector, you know.
Yeah. So I got
And
that.
everybody,
I picked up
yeah.
on that.
Oh yeah.
I like her.
And I used it to my advantage, coming out of, as
Right.
when I was like, hey, like my brothers were tough, but my sister's tough.
Yeah, she'll tear
And
you up.
and you know what she said to me? She came in after she read the first chapter, and she walked into my room, and because was recovering with her, I'm here recovering with her,
Mhm.
and still, and she said, "Thank you," and I was like, "What?" She was like, "Thank you for how you portrayed me," and
Aw.
I said, I was like, "Really?" She goes, "Yes," because she came back into it, even though she lived through that part. She was like, it just brought me back, and that I wanted the book do is touch people in their own way too. But
Sure.
the people that do know me and some of the stories that are very true,
Right.
you know, uh, they either said, I could see it through your eyes, but then it brought me back because it was a long time ago. But
Right.
man, I totally forgot. And the way you described it, and I think that was the real big thing about the book is that everyone said when they couldn't put it down
Mm,
or reading it. That's how easy it was to read because I really worked hard on that. And I know it's
yeah.
spirit filled that God gave me those things. He
Yeah.
brought me back. And it was
Right.
really big therapy from coming from the beginning
Mhm.
of the book to, that's what I really want to show people
Yeah.
is that I wanted to take you on this journey how, from the beginning of the book where you see things happen to me that are not well in the book,
Mhm.
that you see where it came from though, and
Right.
why it affected me and why I was hurt from some of those situations
Yep.
and why it gave me uh you know it brought me to a point where I was hurt,
Mhm.
some a lot of different things, or I pushed things down and or my heart was so strong I pushed forward and I didn't really
Sure.
acknowledge it, or I really didn't, take care of it at the proper time.
Right. Right. No, yeah, well, your sister, I loved when you wrote about her for sure. Um, but
She didn't know that was in there, by the way, and
oh, she
then I
didn't?
no,
Oh,
no. No one read the book, like, no one read it until I
you serious?
finished it.
Oh.
I went through some stuff, I
Oh,
had
I
my
would have been like, "Give me a copy before it prints. I wanna see what you said about me."
I did, and you know what my family said? Like,
Yeah.
those who knew, they said, "You know what? I don't want to, because I
Yeah.
did, I gave it to them early, like, I
That
gave them a
probably yeah,
draft,
yeah.
and they said, "You
Probably
know
didn't
what?"
wanna influence, like, they wanted you to communicate what
Yeah,
your truth, and they didn't wanna influence that. I get that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That
So,
makes sense.
yes.
That makes sense. Well, so the path of and then, you went on to college. I loved all the detail that you shared on the adversity there. It, again, I think is really gonna be so helpful for young adults, especially for those that are, play a sport and are moving on into to college and doing that and all of it really the one I want to kind of fast forward because a lot of this is you sharing the adversities and how you worked through them, the things that you felt like you worked through in a good way, and then other things like you're like, well, I probably could have handled that differently. But we always,
Yes.
always do it's like when we know better, we do better, right? I mean, that
Right.
applies to you and to me. Like when I even look at my
Correct.
life, like when we know better, we do better. And then we look back and go, gosh, I can't believe that I decided that or I did this, but we wouldn't be who we are without making those missteps or choosing to move forward in a certain way. We
Yeah.
wouldn't have, we wouldn't be the end product. God was not surprised when at any of the things that we
Correct.
decide.
Yep.
And it all works for our good, right?
That is the premise of the book, of course. And you're right. When the one thing about talking about my athletic career is that, you know, God has through things, right,
Mhm,
to for other people. And that was the one thing that he kept telling me throughout when he finally told me about writing the book.
mhm.
And I believe that with athletes per se, I'm able to talk to any one of them just because I was an All-American out of high school.
Right.
So there's not a kid that could come up to me and go, "Well, you don't know what I'm going through. I'm the
Right.
number one player in the
You're like,
nation."
mhm.
Well, yeah, I had 70 scholarships, so yes,
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. I
Then
do.
the other ones that are fighting through those,
Mhm.
I could say, "Hey, I understand this part," or wanting to get recruited, because I did talk about that in the book where I was like, I worked hard to get that, and then finally my dreams is coming true.
Yeah.
And so we fast forward to, like you said, in college, where a part of my book where I had my son at 19,
Mhm.
and that was a crucial part
Mhm.
that I will say this as a young black athlete,
Mhm.
soon as they found out that, and I didn't have a girlfriend or anything in high school, nothing. I was so focused. And then,
Yeah.
at the end of my career, when I was like, oh, okay, cool. Then I got a
Yeah.
girlfriend, and we
Yeah.
were together for a long time, but,
Right.
and
Right.
his mom, but when we were going to have them, I was like, well, I mean, I worked this hard, and normally kids do go, well, or it was our parents was like, well, you're going to leave that, and you made that, it was a
Mhm.
mistake, but you made that choice,
Right.
and you're not going to go to school, you're going to go work. And I
Right.
didn't. I was like, no way, I'm going to try to help me
Right.
and my son have a better life, so I'm going to go to college.
Mhm.
I say, well, what if I was gonna be a doctor? I wasn't an athlete. You guys would
Right.
be like, hey man, go to college, get your education. You worked hard for it, you earned it. But because I
Exactly.
was an athlete, people were like, oh, look, you're gonna be a bad dad and doing this like that. And I'm like, no, I'm going there to get education and to help my son if I can make millions and play in the NFL.
Right.
It's best for us in the long run. And I do explain that in the book a little bit about
Good.
that hurt me
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I
You
wasn't getting in trouble. I was a good athlete.
Mhm.
We talked about me being a black quarterback at that, as I
Right.
explained in there what that meant to
Right.
me and
Yep.
my brother, you know,
Yep.
who
Right.
taught me a lot.
Right.
And so that formulated, and when I got to, do the things in college that helped me, I will say that I know that even though that happened, it was the
Mhm.
best thing that ever happened to me. The
Mhm.
best thing that ever happened to me.
Yep.
And growing up with like my best friends who were in college, and it was like 3 Men and a Baby,
Right.
in
Yeah.
there, it definitely was.
Yeah.
He he helped mature me as a
Mm.
young man because I did decide to take on that responsibility.
Yeah.
And you know he doesn't remember, but he does remember sometimes where he's like, well, this is where Uncle Murph came from, or this is who it is,
Yeah.
these people. And he's
Right.
like, and I show him stuff, and he's like, dang, I kind of remember being there, Dad. And I'm like, yeah. So there's a lot of things that I did sacrifice for the good, but I'm so proud that I at least had that ability inside my soul and my heart to go, let's just be responsible and do the right thing.
Right. Well, I think
But that
you
was a lot of adversity going through.
absolutely.
Man, that
Absolutely.
was tough.
100%. 100%. I mean, it's just so great how you shared that whole part of that. I feel like that it's very relatable, and I think that you're an amazing dad, and you have two kids, and now that although they're grown, but I mean, fatherhood was a big part of your journey in your life. So, and I do, when you talked about, so we, after college and then you went into the free agency and onto your professional career, and I really, adversity is really the tone throughout the book, because every every segment of your life as it moved along, even into the corporate realm and where you're at today, it's always been about overcoming adversity. And so I feel like one of the great messages from this is that when if you can learn to be very good and efficient at continually overcoming the adversities that you get hit with in life, because you're going to get them.
Yes, you
I
are.
mean, I mean, maybe some people are like, I don't know. I don't know really. I mean, maybe some people get to go through life with none. I don't know any of those people. I think it's
Yes.
really good if we learn how to navigate through our life with skill sets and faith, um, to move through these seasons. And I really appreciated all the stuff that you shared about your football journey because my son also went
Yes.
the route, and I think as a parent, it's although it's you're on the outside, you're not the one going through it, but I felt like you were really explained a lot of things really well for what that transition's like to a D1 school, the things that can go on when you're trying to balance life as a college student and an athlete, and then even into the moving into the professional realm, the highs, the lows, the making teams, the getting
Mhm.
cut, the doing over, the injuries. I mean, you did a really good job, and now that's why
Thank you.
I also, just because have watching, um my son as he went through his college and then professional experience, um as a player. It's just it really hit home, and I loved hearing your story and the adversities that you overcame on all of that journey. And I
You
love
know,
really
that's right.
quick when you said that. I'm going to look at what page it was. You talked about the why me God. I think it's just in what chapter is this? I'm on page 128, and it's you said, I used to pray and wonder, why me, God? Why I was this herald athlete all my life. You talked about Pop Warner, five-star All-American, all the things, college, so on and so forth. Why now? And I think that's so good that you talked about that, because regardless, like, for even people that haven't been athletes, that hasn't been their path, but there's something in your life that you've questioned, you've gone like,
Mhm.
okay, why
Mhm.
me? Like, I've done
Mhm.
all this, I've been, like a good human. I've
Right.
tried to live my life right. None of us are perfect. We already know that. Like, no newsflash there. I hate when people are like, oh, I'm like, no, no, we already know we're human. God already
Right.
knows. You like, we
That's
make,
correct.
I mean, let's get over it. But the why me, that's so common. That's so common. So
Yes.
what's your advice on how to work through that when we're in that, like, why me phase, and how we got to move out of that, because that's not a healthy place to hang out.
Yes. You know what? That's interesting that you brought that one up. That is a very good one. And
Mhm.
it's because we're all going to say to ourselves, why me? Like you said, on something. What I finally understood to navigate through with God is I'm not going to know all the answers. What
Yeah,
I am going to know is that if I am trusting you, you did say in your word that it's going to work out for my good.
that's right.
But I get what when I'm saying that why me, or when we're saying the why me part, it's because we don't see it. So
Yes,
we're still trying to be in control
right,
of what the outcome is going to be, or when we want to see it, or but then where's my faith?
right,
So when I'm asking that question, I'm like, and then God's like, well, it's what did my word say? And,
right.
and he's one thing that I did learn that I said I never thought I was gonna be is so in love with God, to where
Mm,
I can ask him questions, because he's
right.
not mad at me for asking him.
Yeah,
I'm
no.
actually trying to ask the question, "Hey, man, God, I've been good. Okay, first of all, I'm not even out there doing all that kind of stuff. I mean, I did this. I'm going through this.
Mhm,
I'm not wicked. I might have weaknesses, but I'm not wicked.
mhm.
So why do I have to go through this?
Yeah,
I've seen everybody else do this, and I'm asking them that.
right.
My main thing when I pinpoint that and to tell everyone is like, you're never gonna know
Yeah, that's so
until it happens. And
mhm,
when it does, God says you will be rewarded for your
mhm,
trouble,
mhm.
double time. So I
Amen.
started, yeah. So I started
Mhm,
saying to myself now when things come, I go, okay, God, there's a reason. What are you trying to show me? Patience, discipline, Am I weak in this area? Is this just a timing thing?
Mhm.
Are I know this is not just for me. First of all, it is to grow me, but it's
Yeah,
also to help others in this, like if he knew that I was going to be on this type of platform and
right,
saying, well, you're able to talk about it because you experienced it. And
right.
last saying that is we have a advocate in Jesus that when we come to his throne, he knows everything we went through. How
Mhm.
can we go to a guy when he's like, oh, he's like, I don't know what you went through, so I'm gonna tell you what to do, but you're like, man, you ain't no mom, you ain't no
Yeah,
dad.
right.
So
Yeah,
how can you tell me how to parent? We say those things like that. But when
yeah,
you are a parent, we're listen.
right.
Same thing with God. God's like, I went through everything. I got betrayed, I got freaking
Yeah,
beat up, I got
yeah.
all these different things. So he's like, I was depressed. People don't
Sure.
people don't understand when we say something about God, us, we're in this image, and this is what God told me. He said, hey, I made you in my image. I just know how to control it. I
Mhm,
am sad sometimes.
mhm,
It does say that God's jealous sometimes, but he doesn't come down here and get rid of us because he's,
mhm.
these and that. He knows how to have self-discipline, self-control because
Yeah,
of his love for us.
yeah.
And those are the kind of things that I started when I came and I started asking God questions when we talk about why me, then if you're going to ask a question, be willing to understand the answer.
Mhm.
That's what I would say with
Oh,
people. It's
so
like,
good. So
go
good.
ask.
Yeah,
It's okay.
yeah,
Just be open that
yeah.
it might come now, it
Right,
might come in a week, it
right,
might come in a month. If
right.
you're going to ask, just have the confidence to know he's going to answer you.
Yeah. And it's not we get really caught up in, like, that we have to know the reason for everything,
Yes.
and we don't. We just we don't have to know everything. He'll decide when it's time, when we have that aha, like, generally a lot
Correct.
what I
Yep.
have found in my own life, Trey, is, like, a lot of time goes by, and then I look back and I'm like, "Oh, those oh
All the
moments.
time. I do that
Oh,
all
that's
the
why.
time. Yep.
Oh, okay." And so we have to definitely release the need to know why, the need to
Yes.
know, the need, like, we just we have to let go of that. And you're so right. And in the event it comes, we just don't know the time schedule on it. I
Yeah.
love what you
Yep.
said on how we get paid back double, triple, all of it. I can so relate to that too. As a young single mom, I started out as a young single mom on government assistance. I was married and divorced quickly. And so I was in survival mode for a lot of time. And then fast forward to later in my life, I felt like I was, missing out on different things with my son's childhood because I'm just like, working three jobs and
Yes.
depending on a
Yes.
lot of people to help me watch
Yes.
him and all the things, right? So I can pay the bills. I mean, not live a fancy life, just like pay bills, get off assistance, stuff like that. And so fast forward to later in my life, I had the abundant time to spend when, as he got older and my life had taken such a beautiful turn. But later in life, then I have an abundance of time to be present and to be there while other people, and at that time they're trying to juggle all the things. And I was
Yes.
like, have able to be there, and now I get to enjoy my grand his children as a grand, or I'm a Gigi, but and I have the time, and I'm not in that space, so you totally get paid back. And not that we need to be paid back.
Right.
That's definitely not the thing. Like,
But it's his
you
promise. He
owe me,
promised you.
but it is true. The promise
Mhm.
is true, and it's not that we are owed anything. I definitely am not trying to say that, but has shown up in my life numerous times over and over and over. So it's definitely, kind of that beacon of hope that people can hang on to when they're in those, like, really crappy, hard times and seasons.
Yeah, it is, and that's why. And I do want to say something like I don't know, Jesus was depressed, so let me just go back to that.
Yeah,
He wasn't that, so I'm gonna not say
it's
that, but he did
okay.
have he had some stuff, but
Yeah, yeah.
he went through some things. But
Mhm.
you're right. Like I love seeing you and your family, and your husband and what you guys do. I mean, I'm always so happy to see that, and it's crazy because sure, I thought you guys were married for like 60, 70 years.
Well,
What I'm saying is like,
25,
yeah.
25.
So I thought you guys were married for a long time, which is great because, you know, like we said before, where we think someone has had a
Yep.
really good life. Hey, I've been in love with this one person all my
Yep.
life.
Yep.
And to know that I know what it's like to be divorced and go through those things. So I
Yep.
know the struggles that you
Right.
had through that and
Yep.
thinking, hey man, because I do, I want to be in love with someone. I want to have a
Sure.
relationship with someone.
Yes.
And I know that's what God put,
Mhm.
inside of us.
Mhm.
And I'm just like, okay, God, well, like, when's this gonna happen? I mean, I'm a really nice guy. I'm this, I'm that. And okay, well, what the heck's going on? So there's another like, oh, why me, God? And then I just
Yeah.
said to myself, God, you know what? You have a good person for me. There's somebody, there's something. So
Yeah,
what
they're
I'm
being
gonna do is I'm gonna
prepared
trust
for
you.
you
Correct. And
because
so it's
we
in
already know what
everything
it's
that we
like when we get the
right.
wrong person that's not
Oh, and
prepared.
we don't want that.
Right.
So,
I got the
you
t-shirt for
know,
that.
exactly. So that's you're right on that, and that's the part inside of the book that there's a lot of things that people can relate to. There's the athlete part, there's the love part, there's the relationship part, there's my parenting part, there's having my children, then there's my career. So
Yeah. Yeah.
there's other things that go on.
Yeah. So the last time I saw you was you were working for the Chargers. We had come up to watch a game. The Chargers were playing a team that anyways, we were there to watch a family friend play who was playing for, it was the Bengals. That's who it was. I couldn't remember earlier. And that's where we ran into you. And my son was in an NFL free agent at the time. It was before he signed with his NFL team. And so, we ran into you. We had known you from 24 Hour Fitness, and it was so great to see all the things that you were doing on the corporate side for the Chargers. So
Yeah,
it was just
amazing.
now reading your book, it was just so beautiful to see like how your dream of working for that franchise for the NFL and how what God had in mind for you
You're
in
right.
long term. And it was you so beautifully spoke about that. And so that's the last time we saw you. So let's fast forward to this
Okay.
last big adversity that you've worked through,
Sure.
because honestly, like all the other stuff has been big and it was huge while you were going through it. But would it be safe to say that when you unexpectedly got sick in 2020, which was at the height of the whole right when COVID had started, so definitely not
Yeah.
the time nobody wants to have to go electively go to the hospital, and you were in a fight for your life. So
Yeah.
that's probably been it. Would you agree? Is that that's the huge one, right? That was like the pinnacle of all things that you've overcome.
Yeah, I would say there's one before that that I want everybody to read,
Okay.
that involved my brother, which
I do
put
remember
me
that.
in to
Yes.
the position to say,
Mm.
"Hey, you know what? Let me go after my dream." So I'll say that part.
Okay.
But as far as it is, because that was just a tragedy in itself.
Absolutely.
But when I
And
will
that was
say
something
yes,
I never knew about. When I read that, I was like sobbing.
yeah, that because of what I said in the beginning and how
Yeah.
that led to my whole
Yeah.
entire life and what he
Right.
meant.
Right. Yeah.
But then you're right because I took that and said, okay, when we all say I'm gonna live for this
Right.
person, I'm gonna do right for this person, and the Chargers was everything to him.
Right.
And so getting to that point and doing what I did to show some strength when I got sick, I remember the day, everything that was going on. I, eloquently put that into the book, how what
Yeah.
day that was and what I was
Right.
doing. It was crazy because I was really, as we say in athletics, I was balling there. I was like, I
Yeah.
mean,
You're
I
at the
was
top of
like,
your game.
I
You
was like
were.
skyrocketing.
Yes.
We're at going into the new SoFi Stadium. I'm
Yeah.
selling suites and meeting with people. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm talking about, man. I'm really
You're
good
right
with
high,
the
brother. You're like,
man.
oh,
I'm good with the owners, like me. Hey, I'm gonna say this
yeah.
to me and Dean.
That's
We was cool.
see? I know, right?
And they were like everything was happening, and I got so
Yes.
much. Look, I mean, I got these things like there's these things are signed. I got so much charges stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And but when it did hit, and I got sick,
Mhm.
um, it was unreal to be honest. Like
Mhm.
I'm gonna say this, like in my head sometimes I was like, some people have some really crazy stories and some I don't know, want to say if they're great, but they have these really big adversity stories. And,
Right.
mine was okay, but they never had no like life and death. And when this hit,
Mm,
it was hard.
yeah.
It was the hardest thing that I went through. And it was a rare disease, which
Yeah.
we didn't know what was going on. I mean, it wasn't oh, okay, over time you're going sick. This was like a rapid, like right when I felt it, it just started deteriorating and I started growing,
Yeah.
a lump in the side of my neck and
Right.
here and here. And I can tell something was wrong.
Yeah.
And when I walked into the office or the emergency room, they were immediately like, "Hey, I'll tell your dad you got to go, and we're prepping you to like in 2 days to have life-saving surgery." Those are just hard things to hear,
Yes. Yes.
and you're not knowing what's going on.
Right.
So this my and I've been such a like superior athlete on working out. I mean, I was working at
Oh,
a
yeah.
gym, so
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
always looking,
Well, yeah,
all
even
this
like,
stuff, and
yeah,
I'm
I mean, even in your corporate life, I mean,
man.
I'm a big believer, like, once you're an athlete, it's just like, we just have a mindset of like, we always want to challenge our bodies,
And
So
there
you
was
were
nothing
definitely
I can do. It
right,
was
right.
just I walked in there with at
'Cause you were in
200 and like
great
5
shape.
pounds, and I
You
left out
walked
of
in
there.
what? Say that again? You
I
walked
I walked in at like 205 pounds.
okay.
I left at 148.
Oh my gosh.
I lost 60 pounds in there in a month,
Wow.
and all deterioration,
Yeah,
And so when they told me that they were just trying to find out what it was, and I had this infection. I didn't even know what it was.
yeah,
I mean, I heard of infections, but I didn't know they were deadly like that. I mean,
yeah,
I kind of did, but I didn't really. I mean, I've never experienced it.
right.
So the things that I went through during that time were just the roughest, toughest
Mhm.
time in my life that was hard to hear. And before this is what I'll say. I'll say that you know there's multiple surgeries. You know what? I had to have surgery on my birthday.
Wow.
So the reason why I went in because I was like, "Oh, let me just go to the doctor's office and I wanna
Yeah,
do it now so I can be kinda maybe I can get out in a week because I
yeah,
seen things were going on,
right.
I didn't know how serious it was, so I was like, then I
Yeah.
could kinda not celebrate my birthday, but I could be out for it."
Get you me out, yeah.
Yeah, and then, when they prepped me for it, I had my first one, and then they were like, "Okay." So every other day I had to have a surgery, which they were saying I might have to have 7 to
Wow.
get what I had to get out.
Right.
But on my birthday, I didn't say anything and they prepped me and doing anesthesia. So they have to ask you what your birthday. I was like 3/24/76, and they were like, "Today?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So then I go in again
Mhm.
to go under the lights, and they were like, "Hey, what's your birthday?" Or they were like, "Hey, what's your name?" I'm like, "All right,
Yeah,
well, my real name's Clarence." So I'm like, "Clarence Crayton
yeah.
III." And then they were like, "Birthday, please." And I'm like, 3/24/76 again. They
Or
were
like
like, what the heck? So this is what's crazy. They said to me before they put the mask on, put me to sleep, they were like, "We're gonna make sure for your birthday when you wake up."
mm,
Because I was really like, okay, God, like, I don't want to like
uh,
die on my birthday.
right.
No one could come in, no one could say anything. What they did was after I did wake up, I woke up in the room and they all signed a card for me.
Oh, how
It was
nice.
pride, of course, because I couldn't
Yes,
have
of
anybody
course.
come in. I was tired. I had surgery that day. No one was really calling me. My
Yeah.
parents, but, you know, um, I was
So
just
that's really
drained.
tough. That was tough because, that was the time when everything was locked down, so you couldn't have anyone come visit you in the hospital.
Not one person. They couldn't do anything or so those are just the challenges that I didn't, maybe I think I put in the book, but that I was going through facing, but I was still trying to just stay alive.
Right,
So, come to my last surgery that I had, the doctor comes in, he says, "Hey, I want you to, we want to take a MRI just to see where the infection's at, see if
right.
if we have to do another surgery. They're prepping me right now." He's like, "I
Yeah,
don't know, let's just take a look how much is left." Comes back in, he's like, "Hey, wait, let's stop him." They're like willing me out.
right.
And he's like, "Stop, it's all gone." And I'm like, "Thank you, Lord." And so
Wow.
he's like, "Let's call your parents."
Yeah.
FaceTime my parents. He tells them, I tell them. And as we were walking out,
Mhm.
he goes, I go, "Hey, thank you for saving my life." And he's like, "It was my honor."
Mm.
And there was
Wow.
something, well, I start bawling crying
Of
because nobody's
course.
just going to say that.
Yeah.
But you know what's crazy? I asked God before the thing. I said, "Okay, God, take care of me or whatever." When
Yeah.
the doctor first walked in,
Yeah.
his arm was like this. So he was like this, the actual surgeon, like the dude who's gonna
Okay.
be cutting
Yeah.
me and stuff.
Yeah.
His
What?
arm was bent this way. So when he would give me like a handshake or pound, he'd be
Yeah.
like this. And I'm like,
Okay.
wait a minute, is he kind of like deformed?
Yeah.
Like he's gonna be doing surgery on my like
Neck.
everything. He was my
What?
lead surgeon. And you know what?
What?
I went, okay, God, if this is who you got for me. So I'm saying that I seen this guy, and they
Yeah.
were saying this guy was great. So I'm thinking this guy's gonna come in. He was like a very small, like Jewish guy.
Right.
You know, he was just,
Right.
just kind of normal. I'm thinking I'm gonna come in and see this like a McDreamy from like Grey's Anatomy or something. That I'm gonna get this great guy that's like, oh, this dude's a world-renowned surgeon. And the guy came in, he was like this. And I'm
Wow.
like, but because of my faith, I said, I'm not gonna look at what he looks like. If this is who you have for me, God. So I'm saying that even like I felt like the enemy is trying to distract me where my faith is going to be because this guy's coming in kind of like this.
Right.
The
But
best
God had
search.
equipped him, like, even if that was like some sort of issue that he had, it like he's equipped to do exactly what he's been gifted to do. And that day it was to save your life.
I felt like it didn't matter. He was great with the scalpel and
Yeah.
everything. He
That's amazing.
got like, so I had to take bone marrow out and do
Yeah.
different things like that. So he had to be like really,
Yeah.
really, he had to be there. There was
Good.
two surgeons. I had a neck one and I had a chest surgeon,
Wow.
cardiovascular, and he was the cardiovascular.
Hmm.
And you know what? To this day,
Hmm.
best doctor I ever had.
Wow.
He was, it was just a testament not to look at and be distracted by what you see. This guy had skills and the ability to save me, and he did.
Yes.
And it was, I've never said that to anybody. No one. This is the first
That's the first time.
exclusive on the
Really?
show
Oh
that
my gosh.
I never have spoken about that. Only me and my mom said that to each other.
Really?
I haven't talked to I never said anything to my sisters or my
Wow.
brothers or nobody. I never said anything about him being that way because, I mean, I was just like, because I how high of a regard, but when you
Right.
think of something, I said, God, give me the best surgeon.
Yeah.
That's what I said before he
Right.
walked in,
Before
before I had all this stuff. And then this guy walks in and he's like, and I'm like,
you're like,
whoa. I
what?
said, Mom, this
Yeah.
dude doesn't even. And then I go, you know what, Mom? I'm still sick and hurting.
Sure.
I said, you
Sure.
know what, Mom, it's okay.
Yeah.
So I
That's
just want to say that
crazy.
to you that it
Wow.
was,
That thank you
don't
for
look at it.
sharing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you
Don't
for
look
sharing
at what you
that.
see. You
Yes.
never know
That's right.
who a person is and their skill set and their talents or who God has given you. Just trust God.
That's right.
That's
That's so
so
true.
going through that was the
I
hardest
love that.
thing, and going through the recovery, which I still kind of am because he said it takes like
Are you
5 years to recover, but
really?
I'm getting better and better.
Yeah.
But going through that adversity, that's probably you'll ask me soon, is that going through that hard time was the best thing that has
Mhm.
created this book, has
Yes.
created the thing. Um, Later on, I mean, during on my deathbed, I went through back to school and got
Mhm.
my legal degree
Mhm.
and did the
Yeah.
best I've ever done in school. I
Yeah.
got a 3.8, which is crazy because,
Amazing.
as an athlete, I'm not saying I didn't, but I was smart enough to just kind of get by and do what
Yeah.
we had to
Yeah.
do. But when I dedicated and I just shout out to the University of Pittsburgh,
Mm.
I hit him up and I told him what I was going through. And I said, I just wanted to come back and get my degree. I only had 2 credits left. And then I came back and they were like, your degree's not even here any longer. And I'm like, wait, what?
What?
And they were like, you have to go through a whole nother degree. What do you want to do? And
Oh,
at that time, after I was getting healed, I was like, okay, I want to have this talk, this podcast, this different things. So I want my degree. And the girl's like, well, why don't you just do law? And I'm like, okay, I'll just, at this time, I'm open to a lot of things because
sure. You're
God's
like, all
showing me
right.
a different path. I'm just
I've
going to
done
trust
all
you.
this
Okay.
other stuff. I know
And
I can do this too.
yep. And then I loved it. And now
That's
it's creating a lot of different opportunities for me
sure.
today.
Oh, that's so good. I'm so proud of you. That is really amazing. I mean, how your past, it just goes to show that our past prepares us for our future.
Correct.
100%.
It
And
really
to
does.
not hate your past and not be ashamed of your past and to just know that everything is preparing you and to more so just even the things that you have to overcome, that it's preparing you for
Yeah.
your for what the greatness of what it is you're supposed to do in your life.
Yes, definitely. there's things going on that, you know, as the when the sickness came and when I found out
Mhm.
what happened to my sickness, and I want everybody to read that part
Yeah.
because that was the ultimate part of what God has grew me to throughout this whole time, being in this world, to being in the wilderness part,
Yeah.
kind of like a David, kind of like a Joseph, these things
Yeah.
that happen to us. But ultimately, like we said, when you get rewarded for it, um, going through that is to help other people.
Yeah.
And that last part is what I've been hearing back from a lot of reviews and different things is that I forgave all those people who did me wrong.
Mhm.
And the heart to do that is from God.
Yeah.
That's anything that I mean, thank God that He's given me the ability to have joy and peace
Mhm.
through Him to understand that people are people,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if that didn't happen to me, I wouldn't, like you said, I wouldn't be where I am today. I
Right.
wouldn't be able to talk or help or just be an influence or an inspiration
Right.
to others to just say, hey, you know what? We are going to go through our different things.
Mhm.
There's a lot that I did, and there's a lot of stories. I mean, my book could have probably be 25 chapters long, but I just picked those couple of
Yeah. Yeah.
situations.
Uh-huh.
And that is going to prepare me because now what I want to do is take my brand, which is Triumph for Trey, and help others triumph through trauma and the challenges in life. And I want to go around, and that's my mission across the globe now. To I believe that that's where God's sending me out to go do.
Well, no doubt that you are going to take that to the absolute next level as well. I'm so excited for you. I'm thank you for
Thank you.
having the courage because I think it takes a lot of courage to share our stories and to
Yes.
share like the inner workings of our lives because um a lot of people they see our chapter 25 of life
Yeah. Yes.
and that they don't know the chapter 1, 2, 3, 14, 15, 16.
That's right.
And so they just see all the polished whatever end result. And I believe that anyone that lives a big, bold, beautiful life, that there are many chapters ahead of that had all the inner workings of a lot of the things that you talked about. All of our stories look different. Um,
Yes.
but it took all of that to become what you are now, you
That's right.
know? And so I think that everyone it's just important for people to remember that. They can't compare their chapter 2 of life to someone else's chapter
That's
25.
100% right
You know what I
there.
mean?
It really is, and I'll say this too, is you know, I haven't arrived, so to speak. The
Mhm.
book, l leaves off to where I'm living now.
Right,
So it's not like, did I arrive and now I did this and oh I got this now no, we're working through this together. That's why it's triumph with Trey or triumph with
right,
Christy or triumph with power or triumph with
right.
faith, triumph with strength.
Yeah,
Those are the things is to be victorious and have
right.
a mindset that we are more than conquerors before we walk into the arena.
That's right.
And that's what this book I want so people can have the end game
Mhm.
before they
Yeah,
walk into situations to say, okay, I might go through this, but before we walk on the field, we're always saying, like, just like your son, myself, we're like, we're winners.
right.
And then when we do win, we're like, oh, we won.
Yeah.
But we're not walking into there going, oh man, it's to be more than a winner or more than a conqueror. You walk in before saying, I am going to win this thing.
Right,
I might have to walk through some things that are going on in the game, like fumbles, turnovers, because I'm
right.
using a sports analogy.
Yeah.
But in the end, as long as I win,
Mhm.
I'm a winner.
That's right.
And that's the premises and what I really want everybody to say, let's just do this together. We're
Yeah,
walking together in this. Me and you are doing this together right now with this is to
yeah,
help people together
right.
have better lives and have better confidence and not to quit.
That's right. Well, I am so excited with the new direction that your life
Awesome.
is going, that your triumph with Trey. I mean, it's really I'm just love to kind of see where you're at now and the sky is the limit. It is so
Yeah.
exciting and the amount of people that through your own courage to tell your story of how you're going to help so many people. So, thank you for that so much.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it. This has been
I
awesome.
love to end
Okay.
podcast with just a few rapid fire questions. They're just real fun.
Oh,
It's
okay.
so
Let me get
just
on
so
my.
you know, we can get to know Trey.
Okay.
So I'll pick a few of them. I won't go through all of them, but like this is just for fun. So
Are
uh,
these one answer questions? I just one answer
yeah,
real quick.
just yeah,
Okay.
they're real quick. What's your
Works.
favorite way to spend like a day off or spend a day of your weekend?
Oh, just in my room or at home, just watching TV.
Okay, cool. What is your favorite thing to eat? What's your favorite meal? If you were to pick your favorite meal, what would it be?
Oh, filet mignon. That's that. I'm a steak person.
For
Yeah.
real? How do you
Yeah.
like it
Yeah.
cooked? How do you get it cooked?
Medium. Medium.
Me too. Oh yeah.
Yep. Yeah. It has to be like
Are you
medium
a
rare,
loaded
medium.
okay, are you a loaded baked potato kind of person?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, oh yeah.
Put everything on there.
Everything.
The chives, the bacon, all
Yes.
that.
Yes. Do you think that the baked potatoes taste better when you eat them out at a restaurant versus when you make them at home?
Oh,
I don't
I
know
actually,
what it is
you
about
know what
sometimes
though?
when I go out, I'm like, I make these all the time at home, but this one just tastes better.
I was going to say that. So I actually make them at home.
Uh-huh.
It does. It takes a kind of quite a while to do it.
It does.
But no, when I go, yeah, I think when I go out, well, at a really really good restaurant, then
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
they're fire there.
so good. Okay. Let's see. What else am I going to ask you? Um, oh, so I picked this up in your book that,
Okay.
you're kind of the style guy.
Yes, I
You're,
am. I
you're
am.
like, you know how to bring the fashion to the room.
I do.
So, and I loved that. So, how would you describe yourself like when it comes to fashion? Do you like to follow the trends or do you see yourself more like you're the trendsetter? So, which are you?
I'm the trendsetter.
Yeah,
I, I,
I
I
knew you were going to say that.
I am. I'm the
I love
trendsetter.
it.
I'm the trendsetter. But I like classic. You
Yeah.
know, I
Uh-huh.
like classic. There's some things, but I don't go wild out there. Kind of like some of
Yeah.
the athletes do. They do
Yeah.
some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But I am a trendsetter. I like being different.
Yeah. Awesome. I had a feeling that's what you were going to pick. So, and then share with us really quick, what is something in the next, 6 months or so that you're looking forward to in your life? Is there anything coming up for you that you're just really looking forward to?
I do. There's a couple of projects that I have that's coming out that this has propelled some new different avenues for me that I
Mhm.
am looking forward to. And I'm also looking forward to um I'm going to start like speaking more
Good.
and sharing this story
Yeah.
to the masses
Yeah.
if I can say that.
Yes.
My business manager might be like, "Hey, okay, but
Hold
um
up.
but I say this is that I believe there's some dreams that I didn't know they were my dreams that are about to come true.
Oh,
How
that's
about that?
beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Oh, I'm so
Yeah.
excited for you.
Yeah.
Okay, well, my podcast is all about living your life to the fullest. So the last thing I want to ask you,
Okay.
what does you living your life to the fullest look like or feel like? How would you describe that for yourself?
Living in the ultimate purpose of what God has for my life.
Yeah.
That for me is the biggest thing because I just want to obey him and do the right thing. And when I know that happens, that's good. After that, then it's just me continuing to be the best person I can be inside and out
Mhm.
and loving on my family, like my boys. My boys, in the beginning of the book,
Yeah.
they're my inspiration
Mhm.
and I love them so much. And we've grown and I learned from them
Yeah.
how to be cool now, because I thought I was cool, but now in this generation, I'm not as cool and I'm
Yeah.
older.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to be like,
Yeah.
um, spending more time with them. They're older, so I am going to have grandkids soon. So I'm trying to prepare myself to put myself in a position where we're just having a lot of fun and fulfilling our life's purpose on earth. That's what I'm looking forward to. And in
Oh, I
six
love
months,
it.
a month or a year, I hope to be just living in that.
That's so great. Oh, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing
Oh,
what
awesome.
living life fully looks like for you.
Yeah.
Well, that is we're going to wrap it up here. I am
Awesome.
so excited that we got
Ah,
this time and it's such a phenomenal. I've got the book here. I've got all my sticky notes on it, but we're going to link the book down in the show notes, Battled and Bruised. It's Clarence Crayton III, goes by Trey. So
yes.
we'll be sure and get all of that down in the show notes. And I promise you, it is so inspiring. It is a read. I've got a couple other people I am forwarding this book onto just because
Awesome.
yeah, it really well written. And you know, and I am a slow reader, Trey. So
Me
I
too.
I
Just to say
you
that,
know,
me too.
yeah, I mean, and reading comprehension when I was younger was a really big challenge. So
Oh my gosh.
I loved when I love something, I can just like go right through it and soak it all in. So you wrote it in a way that really worked for me. So even if you're a person that's like, I don't really like to read that much, you I really think this is going to apply to everybody because it was just written really easy and like I got it. I got what you were trying to share. So
Thank you. Can I say one last thing?
yeah,
I
go right
wrote
ahead.
it. I did. I wrote it.
You wrote it. You didn't have a
I did have
ghostwriter.
like a creative writer, that helped me put it
Sure.
together. And
Right?
shout out to TBN,
Okay.
Trinity Broadcast Network, a Christian network or the biggest one in the world, that
Yeah.
published the book. So they published the book, and it was just a dream come true to have them
Mm,
send me out a contract to say, hey, you want to do this, we believe in this book, it's going to help people. So
yeah.
I want to say is that no, it is my words, it's my inspiration. I didn't just go, hey, tell. I actually sat in a lab for 2.5 years and
Yeah.
really put these things
Created it.
together. So I just want to say that to my readers is that this is genuinely from my heart. I
Mhm,
do want it to share. If it just touches one person,
mhm.
praise God. But I'm glad that it's doing so well, and I just hope everybody goes out there, supports the book, and supports me and what my mission and the ministry that I want to share hope and inspiration and triumph and victories in life. So thank you so much for having me on. This was fantastic.
Absolutely.
This was great. I loved it.
This was so great, and knowing you, this you absolutely wrote this. Knowing you, I mean, this is you. This is 100% you. Sometimes you read things and you're like, I don't know, that didn't really sound like their words. You 100% wrote this book.
Awesome.
It was so done so well. So thank you, Trey. Thank you so much. You guys, all of his contact info is going to be down in the show notes, and you're going to want to get the book. So you better act now. All right.
Awesome.
Thanks, Trey.
Thank you so much.
I want to thank you for tuning in today to the podcast, and I hope you've enjoyed the conversation and all the info that's been shared today. And I hope you've come away with a few ideas on how to make the most out of it for your life. If you loved this episode, be sure to share it with your friends and family. And also make sure you subscribe to the podcast and tap that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Also, it would mean the absolute world to me if you would leave a podcast review. So until next time, my friend, keep flourishing and thriving and live your life to the